Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Boring to Badass, where we're helping marketers at B2B companies learn how to take B2B brands from boring to badass. Today, I'm excited to have a good friend, Ozeal Debastos, on the show today. He's an experienced podcaster, community builder, event planner, you name it, he does it. And over the years, he's worked with numerous businesses to help them launch their own podcast and communities. He also founded Pod Houston, which is one of the largest podcasting communities in the country. I've been to a couple of the events Ozeal's put on. They've been awesome. And so I know he knows how to build communities. The proof's in the pudding, as they say. And what I really love about Ozeal is his unique approach to how you do that community building, and how we can work that into B2B businesses, which traditionally don't focus on community aspects. So that's what we're going to talk about today, is kind of how we pull some of that in and how you can use that knowledge to, once again, make a boring brand into a badass brand. So thanks, Ozeal, for being on the show.
Well, I'm happy to be here. Congratulations on the podcast launch. And I'm looking forward to teaching your audience how they can take boring to badass through community. So I'm excited, Justin.
Awesome. Cool. So we'll go ahead and just jump right into it. To start with, can you explain a little bit about, what is community building at a strategic level?
So I'm going to preface this by saying this. We understand that brand marketing is an emotional connection between your message and your audience. Understanding that association, first and foremost, understanding that is key to knowing how you're going to create this culture, this community centered around your brand. So from a strategic level, Justin, I would say that it's establishing that unifying strategic purpose and aligning that with a sense of feeling that you want your audience to feel and be connected with, right? So I think from a practical standpoint, it's about publishing content, right? A brand can establish themselves as publishing consistent, valuable content that could help your audience achieve, their level of success. Enrolling them one by one through the content, they're able to learn and understand a little bit more about, once again, the unifying purpose behind your brand or your business. And they're able to enroll, and then it turns to one, and then two, and then people start sharing it. And then it gets really interesting when people start sharing, because now they're activated, they're telling other people, and now you're creating this ecosystem, this community, right? And that's one way of doing it. Another way, aside from content, Justin, is bestowing rewards and status and acknowledging your community members. Often I see a lot of, especially B2B companies and brands, see comments or see some type of traction from their content marketing efforts, but yet they ignore comments. They're ignoring retweets. They're not taking time to say thank you, and I think it's important for, again, to B2B companies and B2C is to build community simply by acknowledging your members. Just simple things like that. You'll be surprised how that activates them to say, hey, this brand responded to a comment or to something, and they are felt like they're heard, they're seen, and then it just trickles from there. So those are some practical things. Once again, content, consistent, valuable content, and number two, just bestowing status and acknowledging your customers.
Cool. I was going to ask too, because you started, I think, to lean into the next question I was thinking of as you were talking about posting content, and how do
Yeah.
you go from, just posting content to actually building a community, right? Because there's a gap
Mhm.
there between plenty of businesses just post content, even if it's educational. And I
Right.
think you started to hit on the part of that, right, is actually engaging with the
Mhm.
people when they're engaging with the content. What other tips or ways can businesses start to like, or even tactics that they can start to implement to go from just, hey, we're just posting content, to now actually building and creating like a thriving community around their brand?
Well, this is the thing that really excites me the most, Justin, is because I'm in the space of content marketing, right? I'm in the podcast space, and I've been thinking about how podcast marketing essentially is showing up as a leader, educating, inspiring, and then motivating your audience members to take action. I'm going to go back to what I said earlier. I think it's about acknowledging and, again, bestowing status onto your members. I do believe that content marketing is a vital component to building community, social media, but actually being social in your media. Again, just engaging, right? I think things like live streams, seeing B2B companies, I feel like it's underrated seeing B2B companies show up on live streams or start a Discord community or a Facebook community, and really take some due diligence to figure out where their audience is at. How can we, A, give them the content that will help them provide a solution to a problem or challenge they're facing, but also how can we get in front of them? And I think that content marketing, that's where content marketing can really flex its muscle by saying, hey, we're going to show up through a live stream, through a podcast, right? Every day you're in their earbuds. You're giving voice to the business. And then just stop hiding behind logos and taglines, but really get in front of the people. And once they see that, and once they know they're being acknowledged by the leaders, it takes the brand to a whole different level. And I started thinking about this, Justin, even on a deeper level. A lot of B2C companies, and I feel like B2B companies could take this tactic. We see like companies, which I love, like Red Bull, that they invest in their community. Patagonia, Harley Davidson, Apple, Tesla. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And it's a brand, but if you go into their ecosystem, they're posting content that's not even related to what they're selling or providing. They're really saying, hey, we want to invite you to a conversation. Let's talk about it. What do you guys think about this? What do you think about this topic on sustainability? And then the people are like subscribed and enroll into the unified purpose. And that's how you get the people activated. And that's how I see it. A lot of B2C companies do it. I'm just hoping to see that more B2B companies understand the importance of their community building efforts moving forward. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. I was going to say, what do you think then, because I was going to at one point dive a little bit into what are some of the differences between B2B and B2C community building. I think you already hit on that. And so I'm curious now to dive deeper though. What should a B2B business be taking away from what B2C businesses are doing in their community building? And like, what could they start implementing to try to take away the benefits, because obviously there might be differences in how that implementation needs to look. But like when you look at the landscape, what do you see as ways B2B businesses should be building communities and especially learning from B2C companies?
I think it starts with a leadership mindset approach. It really does. It has to be a mindset switch, Justin. And even if a B2B company says, well, we don't really want to build community, and they have to get away from this whole like meetings, our quarterly sales goal. There has to be a component in their business model where the mindset switches and says, yes, this is important, but also how can we create a space where we can actually invite conversation? So maybe a B2B company is inviting another business leader within their industry to simply just have a conversation on a podcast. Now, there's something empowering and beautiful about seeing a business leader host the cocktail party virtually. Like say, hey, I'm going to do a podcast and I'm simply going to have a conversation and you're going to be invited. You can listen to this and I'm going to be talking to the other B2B owner. And then simply by just hosting the party, it'll elevate your brand visibility and your authority in your space. And then you can create different strategic tactics to be able to say, well, there's an email list, right? Where you can include email marketing or SMS. There's, SMM, social media. There's different things on the back end where you can start doing lead gens from the back end through a podcast, let's say, for example. So I think to go back to your question, Justin, it comes down to just a leadership mindset switch. I think once leaders in the B2B space start looking at their clients, but also saying, hey, we also want to build a community because we understand that by generating interest, by showing up, by building brand trust with our audience, they become community members, but it's not a one-off. Now they're actually enrolled in our ecosystem, in our mission, in our culture. Now they can go on and be motivated to buy your products and your service. And that's why I feel like companies like Red Bull, I don't even drink energy drinks, Justin, as you know, but I know that if I were to go energy drink, and need to get a quick, a caffeine hit with energy drinks, which I don't, It would be Red Bull. Like I would go to Red Bull simply because I am enrolled in what they're doing with their community. I just love their vibe and what they do for their culture. So again, it's just being top of mind, but again, keeping people in mind first, right? It's like
Mhm.
invest in people. There comes a point where you just have to like put away the transaction and the sales and be like, I need to invest in people. And I think the big brands that are doing it on a higher level understand the importance of that.
Cool. What for a marketer who's
Yeah,
in a company and they're listening, they're going, this is great, I would love to build a community, because I feel like in general marketers are usually the most open to innovation and
yeah.
trying new things. But obviously, a lot of people inside an organization are not. A lot of them are very risk averse. So, what tips or what do you feel like marketers should be trying to communicate to other leaders in a company to get that buy-in? Like, what information helps convince people to say this is something worth pursuing?
Because things are shifting in marketing. Advertising isn't working as it used to. Billboards aren't effective as they used to be because the attention has shifted. And the attention is community. And the ones that understand the importance of showing up and again investing in people and asking themselves, is there something that this company, this business can do better with a community behind it? I think that's a key question for every B2B business owner to really ask themselves. But if you look at the brands, the notable brands, the remarkable brands that I mentioned earlier, it's because they have a community marketing approach. And I think marketers understand it. I think I love where digital marketing is going. It's evolving, but the traditional ways of looking at a client as simply transactional versus relational, it's going to be, you're going to hold yourself, you're going to be very vulnerable to where we're going because TikTok, LinkedIn, we're seeing LinkedIn. I mean, the reason why it's been amazing, LinkedIn is blowing up is because now business owners and thought leaders are now kind of taking the role of being a creator.
Mhm.
And being a creator is caring about people and actually engaging and actually being social in social media. So I feel like if a B2B, if you're watching this or listening to this, and if you don't embrace a leadership mindset where you start investing in people that's far beyond a transactional sell, I think that's you have to. It's you're vulnerable. You're vulnerable to the market. It's a whole different market, Justin. You know this, being in
Oh
brand marketing. And what's boring? What's boring is just thinking about quarterly sales. What's boring is
yeah.
thinking, hey, people are going to come to me because I have a great logo or a great message. What's boring is saying, hey, they will come to me. It's not, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't. You have to create a community. You have to create a culture where you let them know that it goes far beyond a sales, far beyond a product or service, that you actually care about them. So once B2B owners start thinking, we got to start thinking about caring about people because these B2C companies are crushing it, right? Taylor, even if you look at Taylor Swift as a musician who's huge, right? One of the biggest pop star artists out there right now. And if you look at the way she rolls, she understands community. Like everybody's a one-off, right? If you look at a lot of B2Bs, born B2B companies, they're one-offs. Sell, product, turn, that's it. But if you look at Taylor Swift, she has evolved and has always invested in her community because she cares and she's taken through an evolution of her journey. B2B companies got to start thinking like that, man. They got to start thinking like that because if you are not understanding that community is the new currency, you're going to lose. You're going to be bored. You won't be badass.
Oh, yep. What what are some challenges then? Say someone, is like, okay, we're gonna make this shift, looking at building community, got buy-in from the leadership, and
Yeah.
you start the process. What are some common challenges, B2B businesses may face as they go about trying to implement the community building and the strategies behind it?
Masking, starting a community
Mm,
only to sell.
mm,
I see it all the time, Justin. Where B2B comes, oh, we're all about the community, we're about the people. And the next thing you know, they're selling them. I see
mm,
this in the podcasting space. I'm in the podcasting, I'm a podcast consultant. And when I work with B2B companies, they're the ones who are like, what's the ROI? What's this? And how can we turn this, how can we convert these listeners into sales? And it's like, you lost. You completely missed the mark as it relates to building community and providing value to your audience, to educate them on the problem and solution, on inspiring them to think differently, to communicate differently, to motivate them, to ultimately get them involved in your ecosystem where they're buying your products and services. They don't get that. They don't get that. It's all about sales. So again, what we're going to see is we're seeing the paid community membership emerge. Like it's the hot thing right now, and a lot of people are doing it. But unfortunately, the big challenge is we're going to see a lot of community done wrong. And the reason why it's done wrong is because they go into thinking, well, if I could build a community, now I can sell them. So selling too soon, Justin, is going to be a major challenge. And I mean, I believe that the most important role in any B2B company is your community manager. You need to have a community manager. You need to have somebody who's invested in saying, hey, and this is not customer service. I'm talking about really caring about people. So again, going back, I want to reemphasize that, man, is just do not start a community to sell. Start a community because you actually care about your people, period.
Very cool. And you started leading into the next thing I was going to ask, which is because you talked about having a community manager, right? Or having
Yeah.
someone in that role to be able to do
Mhm.
that. What other skill sets or positions or just knowledge gaps do a lot of B2B companies have that they essentially need to close to be able to, run an effective community and build an effective community? What information do they not have probably today in their organization that they need to get, whether it's training someone, hiring someone, how like to essentially be able to build out this community aspect and do it the right way?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I think it comes down to, I mean, we're seeing a lot of companies use, like, for example, Discord or subreddits or Facebook groups. I think it's looking at having this deep analysis on your content. I mean, I'm hoping that B2B companies are out there and active and see the importance of content marketing, but it may just start seeing what content is resonating with my audience, right? Where are the common challenges and the problems? What are they in? Like, really, it could be something simple as Justin, like just going into the comment section and seeing what are the things, what's resonated with them, what's echoing. What are they enjoying this conversation? Because if we can there's a conversation to be made. Maybe we could take this into a weekly live stream or a private group community. Is there anything, can we do live events? As you mentioned in the intro, I've been heavy invested in in-person events, and I'm glad that in-person events are back. That's another thing. I know Harley Davidson has an annual in-person event called Hogs, where everybody gets together. And I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. Red Bull does the same thing, where it's like, let's take the party offline and do in-person. I've noticed that the biggest companies, even B2B, that actually have a community building marketing strategy, those are the ones that will invite them to do like more in-person events. And whether it's like a meetup or a quarterly conference or whatever it is. So I think those are some gaps in between. It's like, what can we do to gather people together? Because at the end of the day, it's really not about the B2B like business owner. It's about creating this like-mindedness. Like, how can we bring people together to celebrate something that we're very passionate about, and we so happen to be hosting the party? And I think that's the win-win for all of us. And I think, again, it's all about that mindset switch
Mm.
to kind of take it to that level. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. But or does it ever make sense for a business to not build a community? Like there's certain businesses or
Mhm.
certain like stages of a business where you may just say now's not the time.
Mhm. No, I don't think so. And that's my flag I'm going to plant with your audience and you, Justin, is that no, I feel like, and you're great at that, right? You're constantly, you're posting, a lot of great content on LinkedIn, and because you are trying to help clients, you're not trying to convert people, right? And I know you're a service, you're a consultant, but even B2B, it's just investing. I mean, this is where it's going, Justin. This is where it's going. I mean, I love it when I see even marketing agencies, where the owner is, they're doing IG stories or IG lives and they're answering questions. That's because they actually care about the community. And what people do is like, oh man, now this owner has a podcast and now they're doing live streams, and it just deepens the level of trust and it elevates your brand visibility when B2B companies say, hey, we're going to just communicate differently. We're going to market differently. We're going to really invest in people because we know that ultimately, if we create this sense of culture and community, if we take care of them, they're going to take care of us. Again, if you go back to all the brands I mentioned, they understand that. And I feel like there's companies out there that are crushing it, and then there's a lot of B2B companies that have this opportunity, but for whatever reason, they're looking at, again, quarterly sales, and they're not saying, "Hey, let's go ahead and take care of our people." So no, I think that there's no excuse. I think this is where social media is going. I think we're looking at things like metaverse. We're looking at things like AI. People are going to be craving more in-person events, more human, interaction. And I think it's going to be more of a need for B2B companies to really level up and start investing in their community building efforts, without a doubt.
Do you have any examples of a client that you've worked with, and you don't have to name names, but
Mhm.
of a client that you've worked with that saw some kind of um like that the shift, right? If because I know you
Mhm.
work with clients all the time on building communities. So like I'm really love to hear like a story of a client that you had, that just decided, hey, we want to do it. We're not sure how. We hired Ozeal and would love to hear a little bit about what that journey was for them.
I had a client in San Diego a few years ago, and they were an agency. He was an early agency owner, and it was a digital marketing agency. And they were doing all the traditional advertising and marketing, running ads. And then I gave him a nudge. I was like, hey, man, I like to, I'm all about hosting in-person meetups and events. I'm like, what if, you were to host a meetup and you guys host it, and it's all about, educating people on the things that, you know, to help them with digital marketing, and you don't have to pitch, nothing, just host it. And they decided to do a meetup, and then they did another one, and then it just kept on growing and growing and growing to a point to where they did a mini conference in San Diego that was a digital social media marketing. And from the community, business owners started joining in the conference, and being a part of the events and being part of that culture. And his business skyrocketed. And he was like, dude, and as a matter of fact, I haven't spoken to him in quite some time, but I see him on social, and he's still doing in-person events. So it always brings a big smile to my face, because he took my advice, but I saw it. He was a bit hesitant. He was like, I don't know if I have the chops. I said, well, I'll help you. I got, we can start, small. And I think the first meetup was about 25 people that showed up. It was a successful meetup. And then from there, he saw it. And then he just says like, oh, that was the ROI. That's the ROI that you saw that I didn't see. And again, it's kind of like, I was having a conversation earlier, Justin, that's connected to this. And I was talking to a guy, and we're talking about being in the gym. And a lot of B2B companies take this approach. Like, a lot of people go to the gym for the first time, and they're like, hey, I really want to be fit. I want to have a healthier lifestyle. I want to look good. I want to feel good. I want to be seen. I want to be heard. Right. This is what I want to do. And in the gym, as you know, it's a journey. Right? It doesn't happen overnight, but you're putting in work, and the dividends will pay off in due time. Like, if you're there consistently. And I feel like that same analogy, is it could be applied to B2B um, companies in regards to community, that you don't technically see it right away. But once you start seeing people go into your party and go into your events, and then you're really seeing that you're generating trust and likability within your brand, it changes the whole game. And now they're like, I need a digital marketing agency to help me with this. Who do you think they're going to go to?
Mhm.
Right? The one who hosts the party, the one who's actually saying, hey, this was for you guys. They're going to think about you. And I've seen that. And that's just one prime example, just because, again, he was hesitant and didn't see the positive ROI. He was like, I have to make money. I got to make money. What are you talking about? But because he invested in people, in community, now his business has skyrocketed. And now he's has a very successful digital marketing, social media marketing agency in San Diego, simply because he decided to commit to investing in people.
Awesome. That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Um, Cool. So one final question. What is your number one tip on how to host a successful in-person event?
Oh my God. You just threw that one on me. Let's go. Let's go. I love that. Okay. One tip to host an event. I started this. So I started Pod Houston in 2018, but I've been hosting events for actually over a decade. What people don't know. I don't think I've shared that anywhere else. I've been in the in-person space for quite some time. Going back to like really defining your unifying purpose, like what's the mission, right? Who is it for? And why should they join? I think are two questions that you need to ask yourself before you do the meetup. It can't be about you. It can't be about selling in the back end. And I started with just an account of like meetup.com or and I remember I had my first 25 people attend my first meetup. So I did on meetup.com, Eventbrite, and or maybe like a Facebook group. And I think something simple, just like posting on Facebook, hey guys, I'm thinking about doing this for this community. Is anybody interested? DM me. Something simple like that. You'll be surprised. When I launched Pod Houston, Justin, it was a simple kind of just ask. And when I put it out there and people were enrolling on Meetup, people were like, dude, we've been waiting for this. Like, that's crazy when we saw that. We didn't know there was a podcast community. So thank you. And it was really rewarding to see all the new podcasters come to me and say, man, we didn't know like this would ever happen. So what I challenge your viewers, your listeners, is to think about what can you do to contribute to your community? Because somebody may be waiting. As a matter of fact, I can guarantee somebody's waiting to get connected, not only with you, but to get connected with other like-minded people. And where we're going with marketing is people are yearning for a sense of belonging. And that's never going to go away. So if you want to get tactical, again, just meetup.com, Eventbrite, put it up on your social media, on LinkedIn, on Facebook. 3, 4, 5 people. It doesn't matter how many people show up, but it's just one person to the next person to the next person. And then that's how you start creating a community. And you'll be surprised of all the amazing opportunities that will emerge from a business standpoint, from a relational standpoint. But I've gotten through Pod Houston, Justin, I've gotten speaking opportunities, I've gotten client work, I've been able to meet some of the most amazing individuals in the creator entrepreneurial space simply because I decided to give myself permission to say, I'm going to host a party and put it out there and see what happens. And since then, it's over 2,000 members. It's been growing. And so I challenge all you B2B owners out there, simply put it out there and see what happens. And even if it's not in person, maybe you can start with a live stream, right? Or something like that where you can go virtual. But I'm going to say, if you're local, like the localized community building efforts, I think it's underrated, it's underutilized, and I would love to see more B2B companies actually start putting in more in-person events on a local level. So that's how it will get started.
Amazing. Cool.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah,
And yeah, w- there's so much knowledge here, and so much to take away. And so, I hope anyone who's listening, or watching, realize how important it is to build a community, and just posting content does not equal a community, right? Like, you have to start taking the next step, start engaging with your
hmm,
members and your audience, and start looking at building events. I like Ozeal said, in-person events, it's just something, especially I think after coming out of COVID too, where
yeah.
people are tired of being on Zoom. Even though we're recording this on Zoom, people are tired of being on Zoom. They want to meet people in person. And so leverage that, and do it for the right reasons, though. Don't do it just to make money. Do it to build a community,
Mhm.
and to help the people you want to serve. um Awesome. So,
Well said.
Ozeal,
Well
how
said.
can people connect with you, learn more about Ozeal Media, and everything that you do?
Yeah. Well, first off, thank you, Justin. And I want to just acknowledge you, my brother, for uh, taking the party to the virtual streets and starting this amazing podcast, which is going to serve a lot of people in the B2B space, marketing space. I think this is one of the most generous things that you can do as a leader to be able to simply have these conversations. And I've been enjoying the conversations you've had on the show. You have a really good mix of guests. And I'm always, taking some notes, and there's always some takeaways. So thank you for just doing this generous offering for your community as well. So I think you're doing a fantastic job. So keep it up.
Thank you.
Where people can reach out to me it's at the real Ozeal. And I did that because I was like, why not? It rhymes, right? At the real Ozeal on Instagram and everywhere else. Ozeal Media. So if anybody is interested in podcast or starting a podcast to build community, I am here to help you out. I have a lot of podcast coaching clients that are personal brands. I've worked with SaaS companies, B2B companies, B2C companies. So that's a joy of mine. And of course, if you're in Houston, go check out podhouston.com and be a part of the podcast community there. And we have events that we're going to be doing quarterly in 2024. And I also have a little podcast called Creator Factor, which is season 3 will be launching in June, which focuses on helping content creators build their businesses and brands on and offline. So check it out on creatorfactor.net. That's it, man.
Awesome. Cool. And I'll put all those in the show notes and the description so you guys can easily get them. Definitely give Creative Factor a listen. Ozeal hosts a great podcast. I've listened to multiple episodes. Once again, they're all great takeaways. Gosh, I can't remember when one of the ladies that was on there was talking about, I think it was a mindset one, and that was an incredible episode. So for sure, if you're listening to this one, give Ozeal's a podcast to listen to. I feel like it's a great compliment to the stuff you're hearing here. And with that, I think that's it. I appreciate the time, Ozeal. Thanks for coming on. Lots of great takeaways, and I hope everyone had a great time.
Thank you for having me, man. Appreciate you.